Okay, guys, welcome back to Trend Season. I've got a little special guest for us today.
Hi.
I've got Elle here. Elle Dosser. She is a cosmetic tattooist and her Instagram is Brows by Elle and TikTok. She is a client of mine and I wanted to bring her in today because we've had some really good results with what we've been doing. So I wanted to talk about kind of like where she was at, why we started working together and what the results we've seen so far is and like the kind of insights that we've gained about what works and kind of where we're going to go from here, I guess. Elle's been in the industry for 8 years now, so pretty established. She's also a trainer, so she trains other people in cosmetic tattoo, and that's also, I guess, part of your strategy online or what we're working on as well. And then we actually met because Elle came and did some TikTok content with us through Claudia. Shout out. So random. And then she was saying she wanted to get someone to help with her like content for socials. She'd done some workshops and stuff like that, but what was interesting, I thought, was that Elle had already done really well on socials. It wasn't like she was a beginner. It wasn't like she was getting like 2 views on her content. Like she was actually quite established. So it was really interesting. It's a really interesting case study for me, I think, to show how like you can actually be doing well, but be like, I want to take this to the next level and see where we can go with it. And then working with someone like us. So I want you to give us a bit of a backstory on more the social journey. When did you really start using your socials? You're on TikTok and Instagram. Mm-hmm. And what did you, like, when did you start noticing like, oh, like I'm actually getting some results out of this?
I started 8 years ago and I found in the beginning I was getting a lot of like really young girls. So that was really popular and I was getting a lot of followers from that.
Yeah.
But when my account really started to blow up was when Reels was first starting out. And I find that when you're somebody who's early to jump on these sorts of things, that's when like Instagram or TikTok tends to sort of favor your content.
Yeah.
So I was jumping on Reels and
what were you doing? Do you remember?
I was doing a little bit of like the miming and pointing sort of stuff, as well as posting my own content, just videos of my own stuff, some transitions and things like that.
So with clients or just more of you?
No, with clients as well.
Yeah.
So mainly, there was a little bit of me, but mainly a lot of my clients.
Yeah, like their results and stuff like that.
Exactly, befores, afters. Back then, before and afters used to do really well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much... there wasn't as much thought process going into it.
Yeah.
It was just getting a lot of traction no matter what, really. Because there wasn't a lot of other artists out there.
Yeah, true.
And then TikTok, I probably started that, I think it was not last year, but the year before. And I gained 20,000 followers within 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember like what content you did and which ones kind of took off?
Yeah. So I remember one of the ones that went off really quickly was a set of brows that looked very orange in the beginning, and it hit obviously a part of TikTok that just wanted to absolutely troll it.
Right.
But I gained 10,000 followers in 1 week from it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is such an interesting point that I think we should come back to after this and talking about the corners of TikTok and how it works.
Yeah, definitely. So there was that one. There were a few others that I would get like a lot of, I guess, like controversy. Like people were like, they're too dark, they're too thick. What have you done? You've ruined her brows. But then there was always the other side of it that was, you know, really positive as well. And then I would just get a lot of followers from that. And I always found whenever something went off on TikTok, it would do really well on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I would get a lot of followers from, you know, one to the other.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram, if something blows up on Insta, I don't really get followers on TikTok from that.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily translate from Instagram to TikTok, but pretty much always you could take something that blows up on TikTok and it will still do well on Instagram.
Yes.
Do you find that?
Definitely.
Can you just... Obviously, I've seen your content, but for anyone who's listening or hasn't, can you just describe like some of the videos you were doing early on, just visually like what you were showing?
Yep. So I found especially videos that went in time with the music did really well. So if I was doing a transition, I would want that transition to hit And so say I had it before going,
Yeah.
we'd have that music hit right at that transition for the after.
Yeah.
Anything that was really visually appealing to the eye, that would tend to go really well.
So like it'd be a video of the person before they got like their eyebrows tattooed, and then on that beat drop or whatever the transition point is, it would go to the after.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found anyone who had like, especially like really bright colored eyes, anything where they were like looking into the camera, it felt like they were kind of staring into your soul. I feel like I say that a lot with my students, but you want those eyes to be capturing.
Yeah.
That would always go off.
That is such a really good like niche point, that it's like sometimes it's not even the content itself, it's like some element of the format, I call that, like something about the way it's formatted that makes people like, oh my God, what is going on here? Or, oh, I'm just like captivated all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And that's also comes down to lighting as well.
Oh yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Like this is why lighting is so important, because the visual appeal can be like boom compared to like, oh.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't have that really bright lighting where those eyes are popping, it's just not gonna like show up on a camera.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when we're talking about beauty content in particular, people want to see people in the best light.
Oh, definitely.
If they're like, oh, this like shady dungeon is creating amazing, like it just doesn't translate.
No.
Doesn't matter what you do. It's going to be like, what the hell?
Exactly.
If I'm going to look that shit on camera, I'm not interested.
People want to see, they want to see the brightness of something. They want to see the detail.
Yep.
If that lighting's not correct, it's just going to look fuzzy and blurry.
What have you noticed has changed? You mentioned before, you like before and afters, like killed it back in the day. So easy. That was basically the only strategy you need. What have you noticed, I guess, on Instagram first that's different now?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, there's obviously a lot more people on the platforms doing reels. So there's a lot more competition. Mm-hmm. So you are definitely a very small fish in a very big pond.
Yeah.
So I find that you have to get very creative now. There's a lot of trends that are running, and people who jump on trends not necessarily for the right reasons, or maybe they jump on a trend but they're far too late into it. And so, of course, it's not really going to go as viral as what it would.
Yep.
I definitely have found since I've started talking a lot more, that has really bumped up my views a lot.
Yeah.
I was finding even myself back like a couple of months ago, I was feeling like a little bit of a lull.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really getting the views that I was wanting to.
Yeah.
So since talking, definitely that's helped.
Yeah. So that probably like is a good segue into what we've been focusing on. Were you doing talking content before we started?
A little bit, but not much.
Not as frequently, I guess.
It wasn't as, I guess, like punchy.
Yeah. So obviously season, I guess, very like our thing is talking content. So that was a big part of what we were talking about. And I guess for me, I always start every kind of content plan or something with research, and it's based on the way I do strategies and stuff like that. And the highest performers they're talking videos. And I was like, there's not really any way around doing this, which you're fine with. Like, Elle's great. I already knew because she'd done TikTok with her. So she was like, yeah, sick. Let's do as much talking content. And then we do other stuff as well that I still think is worth having and does really well. What did you want to get out of before? Like, that's obviously my perspective, but what did you want to get out of working with someone originally? Was it outsource, just the hard yards of getting it done?
I think, first of all, I really like having somebody who's a professional at what they do. Like, I'm a professional at what I do, and I'm pretty good at doing videos and things like that. But I want somebody who knows about, you know, the searchability of TikTok, the wording of everything. I really like having, somebody who just knows exactly what they're doing. And that's not me.
Yeah.
I also have that personality type where I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to do that. And then I just never ever do it.
Yeah.
So having you here every month really makes me actually do it.
She's got a real to-do list to get to.
So I find that having that person there is definitely important.
Yeah. And I guess like when it comes to content, like you've just mentioned all the things that make it hard is like everything has to be planned. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do some random video and expect over time for things to do well. It has to actually be researched. It has to be like SEO optimized. It has to be high performance oriented. Like, and then over time you see the results. So that's the hard part. And then obviously filming and editing, also the hard part. Yes. So outsourcing that is like, great. now the consistency's there. You get to just post those and fill in the gaps.
Definitely. And I also find that I just love that I've got somebody there to relay that info, because I'll be standing at a camera, as you know, blank face, thinking, hang on, where am I starting again? And you just being like, this is where you're starting.
So I guess the way like my mind works is like I kind of know what is potentially going to perform the best, what order of like, and you do too. Like it's not that you, but obviously when you're in the moment, you're just going to be like, so do I. But so what we do is basically we have a bit of an idea of what we want to say, and I just start saying it to Elle, and then she basically repeats it back with personality on camera.
Yeah, exactly. It just helps me to start off, especially. Camera, it's very hard talking to a camera by yourself.
100%, especially if someone's standing behind it, just kind of going like, yeah.
Awkward.
I like appreciate it because I obviously film most of my own stuff, so I appreciate so much that you guys can like do that.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, this is hard. All right, let's talk about some of the stuff we've done and some of the things that like you've noticed in terms of results and what's doing well. What was like, talk through like our kind of strategy when we went into this and what we wanted to focus on.
We obviously wanted to talk about the searchability. We wanted like the words to sort of come. I'm losing my train of thought.
That's right.
now.
Like we wanted to make sure that whatever we created
Yes.
had keywords.
Yes.
It was based on what people were searching for.
Definitely.
So that like content strategy side of things.
Yes. And I definitely wanted to talk more into the educational side, like teaching both clients and students about these things that we all know, but nobody else actually knows.
Yeah.
So that was really important.
Yeah.
I found that like controversy obviously sells a lot, like it did when I did those orange brows.
Yeah.
The same thing with our video that went viral.
Yeah.
That one was pretty much talking about why I don't do a certain technique.
Yeah.
And I found that one obviously went nuts.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. So you obviously had experience with the controversial element and you're actually quite comfortable with it, which is a really great place for me to come in. Because it means that someone's already experienced like the dark side of TikTok and they're kind of like, you know what? It's horrifying when it first happens, but then you kind of move on and you realize like, oh, that's actually like, it just comes with the territory of like the good stuff.
Yes.
So that was really good. So I think with you, like in my head, I was like, because you're a trainer as well, we wanted to position you as a bit of a thought leader. Like you're an expert on what to do and what not to do and not just orientating that towards your clients. But there's still like the added benefit of when you're teaching other cosmetic tattooists, you're showing clients that you're like you are the expert, not the trainee level or basic level.
Exactly.
So it has like a double benefit.
Yeah, I don't want to just be talking about the basic things. I want to get into like the real nitty gritty sort of stuff that people don't really know about and they don't even tell their clients about.
Yeah, which I think is like, as someone who's like, I've had my brows tattooed. Like, I want to know all the details and I want to make sure that person's like super technical with whatever they're doing. I don't want to go to someone who's just like, oh, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would want to know this person knows their shit and knows like the science behind it. So, what are some of the, okay, what's the one that went viral that we did?
So, we did a post on why I don't do microblading all over the brow. And that is because hair strokes over time, they tend to blur, they migrate, it's just not a very nice technique.
Yeah.
But it is still a technique that is done a lot.
Yeah, it's still really common.
It is. And I used to get I still even do get the question, like, can you do my brows microblading? Can you do feathering? And I'm like, no, I don't actually do that.
Yeah.
And then I would have to, relay this information on why I don't do it.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to, I guess, like harness that into one video.
Yeah.
Just to kind of show people and educate them on why I don't actually like it.
Yeah. And this is what came up when we first did our planning call. I always ask, like, what are the most common questions you get? And it was probably the first thing that came out of your mouth. It was like, everyone always asks me if I do microblading. You were just like, oh. And I was like, that's a really interesting one. The fact that so many people are asking about it, but it's something you specifically don't do and you have a really valid reason why, but no one talks about it, is a really good concept.
Yes.
Because there's like a big gap in the content that's out there around this topic.
Exactly. And I I did get a few comments, especially being like, I hate it when artists badmouth other artists and all of this sort of, I guess, it's really controversial.
Yeah.
So I was like, I really want to talk about this, but I know that I'm gonna ruffle a few feathers along the way.
For sure. And I guess what we did with it was we made it a talking video, so you had an opportunity to explain.
Yes.
And we used visuals. We from Google Images. Credit Google Images. And we like had them on the screen so that we could show people like, you know, you talked through the science of why it actually doesn't heal well and continue to look nice over time.
Yes.
Like there is actual
evidence
to
support.
Yeah, like it's not just like I don't like them, they look crap. It's
Yes.
like there's actually like a physiological thing happening that prevents them from maintaining that effect over time or whatever. So
Exactly.
as much as like people kind of wanted to badmouth, there wasn't that much people could say.
Yeah, exactly. There were a few that were just saying like you're wrong. It's all about the artist. It's all about the technique. I'm like, I have seen hundreds of artists do this technique for a really long time. I've been in it for 8 years now, and I just know that it's not
100%.
It's not it.
And I think like it actually doesn't matter what people say in the comments who like disagree with you. What we were trying to do was really show that the way you choose and what you choose to do is based on evidence again, and like really solid understanding of like the science behind these techniques and stuff like that, which again just positions you as someone who's like really professional and like really credible and an expert in the industry. So
thank you.
How many views did we get on that one now?
TikTok, that one has 480,000 almost.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, it's about 220.
Yeah. So we used them on both, and
both
same
did
performance.
really well.
Well, not same performance, but yeah.
TikTok, I find, always does just that little bit better normally.
For sure.
Yeah.
And again, because we SEO optimize for TikTok, like they're actually designed for TikTok. So we knew that, like that's already an in-demand search that is going to come up. So that was a really, really good one. What else have we done? We've done a lot of talking stuff around techniques,
how things fade over time. That's a really big one because a lot of people don't know how tattoo can actually fade over time. These were all, I guess, coming back to that idea of like answering people's frequently asked questions. Definitely.
It's like, I think, like you said, we see a lot of before and after content, but then you go into the comments and it's like, there's so many questions. It's just like, okay, but like, is it painful? How's it going to heal over time? What do I need to do? And it's just like, no one's answering this properly.
Yes,
like, we need to fill this gap in over here. And then like, I would just have questions like, so how does this work? And then we'd come up with like a whole new kind of concept. Around stuff like that. We've also looked around it the way other people in other industries are doing content, and we're trialing out some of those ideas. Yeah,
definitely. I see a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with. So we plan to, I guess, kind of make it our own, change it up a little bit, but talk about the reasons why we probably wouldn't do some things.
Yeah, like that kind of reaction to what other people are doing, using like other people's content, I guess, as a bouncing off point, whether if they're in the industry as like a talking point, or if they've got like a great format out of the industry, using that as well. So we're doing some reaction content today, which would be fun.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, which was, we've seen that in other industries that are again around that kind of like expert and techniques and things like that. And we're like, Elle sent through and she's like, this could be a good one, and we've incorporated that for today. We're doing some content after this. We do some fun stuff as well, and actually even the microblading concept on top of a audio trend still did really well.
Yeah, that was a miming trend that we did. I can't remember which one exactly.
I don't remember what the audio was.
I can't do nights.
Yeah, I can't do nights. It was like, I can't do nights. So we again took that concept of like Elle having a stance against a common technique, which is microblading, and we turned it into like a short form trend style. We just had the text on screen. Elle was doing the mime, and it still performed really well.
I think especially because it came off the back of that first one that I had posted.
Yeah. And this is a really something that I keep in the back of my mind is if something does well, like iterating on that concept and that style, like there's no
Keep it going.
Exactly.
Do you know, it's funny that you say that because when I very first started TikTok, I would post a video and if it did really well, I'd pretty much use the exact same video. I'd chop it up in a little tiny different way with a different audio and that would blow up as well.
Yeah, interesting. I've seen you do that a couple of times on TikTok and it is definitely something that works so well on TikTok because it's not just about who follows you, right?
No, definitely
So it could just hit like a whole new corner where they're like, who haven't even seen the first one.
Whereas I find with Instagram, it doesn't really work as well. People want to kind of see something new. They don't want to see the same thing over and over again.
Because your content on Instagram is hitting your followers primarily.
Yes.
It's like it's a different strategy.
Definitely.
Really. Like we would use the same, like we could still use that concept where we did a talking video and then off the back of that did trends.
Yes, that would work.
And different iterations on the microblading, which we have done, talking about other techniques, but
not so much the same video of the same girl, just slightly
just
different.
like kind of chopped up and
People will get bored of that real quick.
Can you just post that? Now you've got your gal working underneath you.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some extra kind of team
building. Oh, not team building, but teamwork sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Just some funny trends.
I guess that's the other. Well, that was actually what you said to me at the beginning. You're like, I want to get more into the personality and like get people to know me a little bit more and have some of that stuff. And then we sort of talked about it and I was like, let's start with the SEO style and like then we can incorporate a few in each one that are a bit more personality. And then now Elle's got someone working with her. So it's like, this is a good opportunity to do more kind of the team.
Agreed. Yeah. I find like a lot of people know me really well from my stories because I do post a lot of, I don't know, I guess ratchet posts. Just funny stuff, really.
More personal.
Yeah. And so I really wanted to sort of transfer that over into my own videos as well for people to see.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited for us to get more into that.
Yeah. I think that'll be interesting because still with that, like my goal is always to make sure that it has like translation over time.
Yes.
Like we don't just do random stuff, but that you kind of become known for something about this content.
Yes.
In the same way that you're becoming known for having like opinions or the style of, what was the one that got copied?
Oh, the microblading one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went immediately off topic.
I also, the microblading one is pretty much somebody I saw doing a very similar video with very similar
Do they follow
talking points. Yeah. That's okay.
That's great.
I think like a lot of people get really annoyed about the whole copying thing, but I'd rather be copied than people think that I'm irrelevant.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like such a good sign. I was like, this is exciting because it means we're at the forefront of a type of content that no one in the industry is doing yet.
Yes.
And that is the place that you obviously want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So segueing back to the teamwork thing, I want to find our spot in that as well.
Definitely. Something that's like different, that shows our personality, but isn't kind of just what everyone else is doing.
Yeah. Because you guys will know if you're on TikTok and Instagram, what we tend to see is every business just like copies the exact concept, format, jokes, trends as everyone else, and you're like, that actually is detrimental to your brand. It's not like positioning you as unique.
And then they're wondering why nothing's going viral because
it's been done 1,000 times before. So I think that's going to be the fun spot, is like playing with trends, making them unique, finding a space that like kicks off, and then being like, great, let's like iterate on this.
Yes.
That will be really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions on like what we're doing together or the kinds of, work that we do with smaller businesses, I guess, in that sense where we can do content strategy and partial content creation, drop them in the DMs. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.